Hi, I'm Pete with FoamFit Tools, and I want to do a series of videos about the Husky 1025-piece mechanics set. Uh, we've made foam organizers for this set for a long time, and along the way there have been some really minor changes that haven't affected the foam. For example, the folding hex key sets were black. They color-coded them now, so the SAE have a little red band, the metric have green, and the Torx have blue. Well, that doesn't affect the size of the folding hex key set, so it still fits in the foam. But what they've done now is they've made a bigger change. The model number is now H1025 MTSPORM. And that with that change, they took some tools out, they added some new tools in. So what I want to do, I'll just show you what those adds and subtracts are, kind of go through what's in the 1025-piece set now. And then in the next video, I'm going to go through and show you what we make for the different toolboxes, like this 56-inch toolbox behind me. Let's start with changes to the drive accessories. So they've removed this quarter drive breaker bar. They've removed the short 3/8 breaker bar. And they removed the spinner handle. So this is a quarter square drive with a screwdriver handle. And what they've added is a longer 3/8 breaker bar. So that's a nice change. And then they've added this extendable breaker bar. So it's half drive. You slide the collar and the handle extends. And then there's several detents to get different lengths. So that seems like a nice tool to have. Everybody's been in a situation where you're loosening a fastener and the breaker bar hits on the frame or hits on the ground, and it'd be nice to be able to just shorten the handle up and then keep going loosening the fastener. So overall, it seemed like nice improvements. They haven't changed the extensions, so it has the same extensions as before. Adapters, swivels, those types of things, none of those have changed. So overall, it really is a change to the breaker bars, and still has a good selection of drive accessories. So as far as the chrome-plated sockets go, they haven't made any additions or subtractions. They have changed the diameter of a few. Like the eTorque sockets, they all got a little bit beefier. It's a small change, but it's something we had to address in the foam. There are some additions to the impact sockets, but nothing that affected the sockets in this layout. So what we've got is SAE, half drive, 3/8 drive, quarter drive, and then metric, quarter drive, 3/8, and half. So it's still a great selection of sockets. And you can see we've got the ratchets here, which haven't changed. And we've got a few adapters and swivels in this drawer so that you don't have to open a second drawer a lot of the time. But most of the changes here were minor. We did go through and we resized for the half drive sockets on both sides, SAE and metric, because there were a number of little changes. When we do these, we feel that the foam has got enough flexibility. If the socket changes by 15 thousandths, which is about a 64th of an inch or about 0.4 millimeters, a change of plus or minus 15 thou doesn't really impact the foam. But if it's a double of that change, so like a 30 thousandths change, a 32nd of an inch, then you notice it, and you have to really fight to get the socket in the foam, and that's not what we're looking for. So we have gone through this layout, adjusted to fit better. They added two sizes to the impact sockets. They added a 16 millimeter to the 3/8 drive short. And then on the 3/8 drive deep, it still goes from 19 millimeter down to 10 millimeter. They just added a second 10 millimeter size. The rest of the impact sockets are the same. So metric half drive goes from 13 to 27, and SAE half drive goes from 7/16 to 1/16. Still have a couple of extensions, some adapters, and some swivels, and some hex bit impact hex bit sockets. If you're thinking about which set is right for you, if you go down to the 922-piece set, it's the same as the 1025-piece set, just doesn't have the impact set. They didn't change the contents of the hex keys, but they've increased the size of these plastic holders. So we had to adjust the foam to fit the hex keys better. So folding hex key sets, SAE metric hex keys, and Torx keys. So they removed the number 3 Phillips screwdriver from the set. If there was one thing I would complain about, it'd probably be that. They've also removed the two square tips, so a number 1 and a number 2. And then they removed two midget screwdrivers, a slotted and a Phillips midget screwdriver. So because they've removed those couple of screwdrivers, we were able to fit more in the drawer. So what we brought in is the magnetic handle, and then all 72 of the screwdriver bits that are included in the 1025 piece set. So now your option with the set, if you need to do a number 3 Phillips, there's number 3 Phillips bit that you can put in the magnetic handle. So it actually has it has 2 number 4, 3 number 3, 5 number 2, and 3 number 1 Phillips. Some posi, several slotted, 4 square. These are nut driver bits, hex bits, and Torx bits. So a lot of capability here still, but they did take those 5 sizes out. They've made a change to the screwdriver handle. The old handle, this end of the handle is round, and on the new design, the end of the handle is a 6-lobe design. So it kind of gives you a spot to rest your thumb when you're using it. So it seems like a nice improvement, kind of a minor improvement. It does affect our pocket in the foam because we had to make it wider in that area. But we knew this change was coming. Husky's been changing all their hard handle screwdrivers to the new 6-lobe design. And it just finally made that change on the 1025 piece set. There aren't as many changes to the wrenches in the 1025 piece set. We did have to make a few of the pockets wider. A few of the wrenches got a little bit beefier. Pretty minor change. They've removed one wrench from the 1025 piece set. So the very early versions had this wrench. It's a trailer hitch wrench. So 1.125 and 1.5 inches. Take the ball off of a trailer hitch. Eventually they changed this and it said Husky in the center. Now this wrench is just completely removed from the set. Okay, so I just grabbed one of each style of wrench in the 1025 piece set. So these are all metric on this side, and then it's the same styles, but all SAE on the other. So what we've got, the combination wrench. So box end on one end, open end on the other. The stubby, it's the same wrench, just shorter. This is a flare nut wrench, right? So it's a line wrench for doing like a soft brass nut on like a brake line. So it wraps around the nut a little bit more, but there's just a notch in there so that you can get it over the line and then slide it onto the nut. Double box end, of course, and these are the deep offset style. So it gives you a little bit more clearance. So 2 different sizes on that, on each end of that. And then ignition wrenches, or midget wrenches sometimes they call them. It's a thinner wrench. So they're smaller sizes. They come in handy sometimes when you're working on little things. Like I know on our laser, when we take the lens off for cleaning, we have to take a little air fitting off, and we have, the only wrench I've got that's small enough to fit on there is an ignition wrench. So they seem like a little inexpensive thing that they toss in there to inflate the piece count, but they're very handy. And then crowfoot wrench. So if you're going to be torquing a fastener, especially like a hydraulic line where you need to torque it to a spec, but it's it's got a hose coming out of it, so you can't put a socket on it. You need crowfoot wrenches. And then there's 4 different kinds of ratcheting wrenches. So a reversible ratcheting wrench has got a little lever. You flip the lever so that it goes the other way. These usually are bent, so that gives you a little bit of a knuckle clearance when you're working. Some people don't like them because it's when you're in a tight spot and you turn it, you can bump that lever on something, or when you're reaching in, that lever gets bumped and now it freewheels when you mean to tighten or loosen. But they're nice for the knuckle clearance. Now the alternate version, the most common version of a ratcheting wrench, is a non-reversible. So this one you just have to flip over to go the other way. But there's no bend in it, so there's no knuckle clearance. That problem is solved with the flex head. So this one, it's non-reversible, so you have to flip it over to get it to rotate the other way. But you've got this flex joint in it so that you can get in access and have more knuckle clearance. And then they have a stubby ratcheting wrench in there as well. So same as the non-reversible wrench, just a shorter handle. The Husky 1025-piece set includes 17 socket rails. Now, we don't typically pocket these into the foam, but they are nice to have if you need to crawl under a vehicle. They're plastic rails with plastic pins and a stainless steel spring-loaded ball in there. So they do hold the sockets nice. They give you 17 rails, and each rail's got 10 pins. And you can move the pins to different rails. So if you have 9 sockets in one row and 12 in the next, you can make up a rail to hold all of those. But the total package of rails is going to hold 170 sockets. The 1025-piece set has 529 sockets. So that's why so many of our customers buy the foam organizer from us, because it allows you to keep all the sockets organized in order, and you can tell if something's missing. The 1025-piece set is a mechanics tool set, and most manufacturers, when they say mechanics tool set, they're focusing on sockets and wrenches. So, there's hex keys and screwdriver bits and a few other things included. Now, when you get to the bigger sets, they include screwdrivers typically. So like the Husky 432-piece set doesn't have screwdrivers, and the 605-piece set does. So in this 1025-piece set, you get a really good selection of tools. But there are a couple of tools that you may, add on to this set. So hammers, pry bars, punches and chisels, and pliers are kind of some of the big things. So if you're laying out a toolbox, you want to make sure you've got enough room to fit everything. So what we see some people do is they try and fit the 1025-piece set into a 42 or 46-inch toolbox, and you really have to cram it to get everything in there. And then you don't have room to add things like a drawer of pliers, a drawer of T-handle hex keys, a drawer with tape measures and layout tools, things like that. So, we kind of recommend 52-inch toolbox. So like the Husky 52-inch it fits in that toolbox fairly well with the foam. And of course, when you put your tools in foam and organize them, it does take more space. Typically the sockets, we get real high density on the sockets, but when you look at wrenches and things, it does space them out, and you need about 50% more drawer space to fit everything. So when you have a big set like the 1025-piece set, the 52-inch Husky box, top and bottom, is about the smallest box that you can fit everything in with foam and still have a couple drawers available for your other tools. The 56-inch, 72-inch, those boxes give you a lot more room to grow. If you're wondering what additional tools are in the 1200-piece set compared to the Husky 1025-piece set, the 1200-piece set adds a few 3/4 drive tools. So a 3/4 drive ratchet, 2 extensions, and 9 sockets. The sockets are all SAE, no metric. Then they add 3 ratchets. These are the 144 tooth ratchets, so it's a fine tooth ratchet, and they have a slightly longer handle. They had 3 3/8 drive wobble extensions, and then quite a few additional Torx bit sockets. So there's 3 additional regular sockets, just sizes that they've added, but then they add the long Torx bit sockets in 3/8 and 1/4 drive, and then they add short 1/4 drive security Torx bit sockets as well. There are 8 additional wrenches. There are 4 SAE, 4 metric, double open-end wrenches. So a different size open end on each side. And these are handy because they're a thinner head. So if you're trying to get in behind something or get to do a jam nut, something like that, they're nice. But there are no bigger sizes. This is the largest one. So if you're thinking like a lot of open-end wrench sets go to really large sizes, and then you get the angle wrench sets where they have a 30 and a 60-degree angle for tight axis, so you can flip it, especially for working on hydraulic valves where you got a lot of fitting space close together. That's not what they've got. They just got 8 smaller sizes, double open-end wrench. So nice to have, but not the same as adding a big angle wrench set. The other 77 pieces that they added are this tap and die set. So it's a really good selection of taps and dies, and then it's got a ratcheting handle. And you can put this handle together in a couple different ways. I really want to like this. I always thought a ratcheting tap handle would be nice. What I notice is it's a pretty big head on here, and then it's only got 2 positions, right? So there's forward or reverse, but there's not a third position that locks the handle. So I think in a lot of cases, you're just going to use the bar because you've got to advance the tap and crack the chip and then advance again, and flipping the lever every time would just slow you down. So it also doesn't have a cone-shaped detent in there. So if you've got a spring-loaded follower in your drill press for tapping to keep the tap straight, this is not the tap handle that you're probably looking for. But it's a good selection. It's got a couple of eighth NPT pipe taps in here, but not a lot of pipe taps, but a really good selection of both SAE and metric, coarse thread and fine thread. So that's what's new with the Husky 1025 piece set. If you found this video useful, click like, subscribe so you can see our other videos. Our website is FoamFitTools.com, and you can find all the organizers we make to fit the 1025 piece set into a variety of different toolboxes there, and plus organizers we make for other Husky sets and other brands as well. Thanks.